and welcome to the Actual Tech Media EcoCast. My name is Jess, and I am excited to be here with you all today. But before we jump into our content, I have some basic information that I want to cover with you. All right, let's kick off our day here today by taking a quick tour of your audience console. And we're going to start with the questions window. So if you haven't already said hi, there is a whole audience of cool humans out there, so reach out and give a wave to the other members of the Actual Tech Media community. Now, keep in mind that if you do have any technical issues today, a browser refresh is going to fix just about anything. But if those tech gremlins are clinging on today, no problem. Just throw a comment in the question section and our crew will be there to help. We also want this to be an informative webinar for you, so throughout today's EcoCast, we hope you'll get engaged and ask all your burning questions. Not only will we have team members responding to you over a live chat, we will also have a dedicated Q&A session at the end of our presentations. Now, if we don't get to your question during the live webinar today, don't worry, because the awesome experts that we have here with us will be following up after we wrap. All right, next up, there's going to be lots of cool aha moments on the EcoCast today, and if you want to share those with your community, we've made it nice and easy for you. You can use the Twitter button right there in your audience console, and the hashtag for today's EcoCast will be automatically added to your post. All right, our last stop on this guided tour, be sure to check out the handouts tab for some awesome resources and takeaways from our speakers here today. We have an info pack collection, solution briefs, white papers, data sheets, free trials, ebooks, upcoming webinars, and more. So many great resources, so be sure to go explore. Now, if that wasn't enough fun, we also have some exciting prizes that we'll be giving away throughout today's EcoCast. I'm going to tell you a bit more about those later on, but a few quick reminders for you all. First, you do need to be here live in attendance at the EcoCast in order to qualify to win a prize, and we will follow up with all of you after we wrap. Now, all winners must submit an IRS Form W-9 to Actual Tech Media, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. Now, if you don't know what those full T's and C's are, that's fine. We've got the full thing for you. Just head on over to that handouts tab, click in, scroll down to the bottom, and you'll find them waiting for you there. Now, the absolute most important thing to remember is that we love getting all your insightful questions during these live webinars. In fact, we love it so much that we actually have a special additional prize for all you inquisitive folks out there. So in today's EcoCast, we will be giving away a prize for the best question asked in each of our live sessions. Now, the expert speakers and teams will review all questions asked after we wrap the webinar, which means that even if your question does not get read out in a live session, there is still a chance to win. If you are a lucky winner here today and you would like to donate the value of your prize, we have several wonderful organizations that we partner with. So let us know when we follow up about your big win, and we'll get that rolling for you. Again, we are so happy to have you all here with us live at the EcoCast today, and we want to keep that good feeling going, so let's connect on social media. Reach out and connect with Actual Tech Media on Twitter and on LinkedIn. We have lots of great content, and we always want to hear from you. Now, if you're looking for more awesome content and resources right after we wrap the EcoCast today, be sure to subscribe to the Actual Tech Media channel on YouTube. Another fun way to win a prize and, hey, grow this awesome community is to refer an industry friend or a coworker to the Actual Tech Media webinar series. Now, you'll find a link to do that right in your handouts tab, and you will also be automatically redirected at the end of the webinar. And both you and your coworker or friend could win a prize, and we hold those drawings every month. So be sure to refer a friend, because it could quite literally be a win-win situation. Next, we have a cool opportunity for all the decision makers out there to get connected with new and emerging tech and innovative vendors. Here's how it works. All you need to do is click on the link in your handouts tab, fill out a quick application, and the Actual Tech crew will then match you with some vendors that we think you should probably be chatting with based on your needs. There will also be fun opportunities that you get to choose to join in, like surveys, test runs, new solutions, extended demos, and so on. You'll get some chances to win extra prizes, you'll chat with great people, and you'll learn about the hottest new trends in tech. So be sure to apply, or hey, send that link to a decision maker on your team. Now, I want to take a quick minute here to remind you all about one of my favorite resources, and that is ransomware.org. You can find out everything you need to know about ransomware, how to prepare, prevent, and recover. This site is jam-packed with information, helpful tips, checklists, strategic approaches, case studies, everything you need in one place. So wherever you are in your ransomware preparedness journey, there is something for you at ransomware.org. Go check it out and start exploring. All right, I have one more exciting resource I have to tell you about today, and that is the Gorilla Guide Book Club. It's going to give you access to free enterprise IT books authored by top industry experts, so you can stay up to date on trending enterprise technology. And yes, these books will work on your Kindle, your mobile device, and as I said, they are completely free. You can download these awesome resources at gorilla.guide, and there's a link for you in that handouts tab as well. All right, well, we have covered a lot of important things already, and I don't know about you all, but I am excited to dive in. So let's get going.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Actual Tech Media EcoCast. Hope you're happy to be here. I sure am. Today's topic is cloud repatriation debate, to move or not to move. I want to start by saying a big thank you for joining us today. We've got folks logging in from all over the place, from Massachusetts and Louisiana or LA. I never know when I see LA which one that is. From Atlanta, a couple people from Atlanta, Dallas, South Carolina. And apparently the traffic is bad in Atlanta. It's raining in Seattle. So thanks for letting us know that. Arkansas, go Braves, someone says. Massachusetts, so you folks are all over the place. Austin, where my son is actually right now. So so glad to see everyone. My name is Keith Ward, and I am your moderator for today. Also joining us, you've already met Jess. And our other outstanding moderator is Scott Becker. Looking forward to this particular presentation or session today. Going to be a lot of fun, but it is not just the fantastic educational information you will get today. It is also about prizes, isn't it? Right? So today we have got three $300 Amazon gift cards, giving you more chances to win. Don't forget what Jess said at the beginning, that you do have to be present for the entire event to be eligible for one of those gift card giveaways. And with that, why don't we move on to our keynote presentation?
And to the cloud repatriation debate, to move or not to move. I'm Howard M. Cohen, and I'm here to kick off the day. I am a creator of compelling content. If you'd like to sample my content, just go to biztechjournal.substack.com, or while it's up there, scan the QR code. Okay, so to move or not to move, that is the question. But here's the thing about the question, okay? There is no right answer. It's not just yes or no, okay? It could be yes for some things, no for others. So it's not that easy to answer. Let's define cloud repatriation. It's a really simple concept. It's moving data, applications, workloads, whatever, from the cloud back to your on-premise infrastructure. Just that simple. And it isn't new. People have been doing this since cloud began. Almost every company has moved something back to on-prem for various reasons. We're going to discuss some of those reasons. So let's ask why. Why cloud repatriation? Why would you move workloads back to your in-house infrastructure? The obvious biggest motivator for everything is cost, right? So you may have moved some things to the cloud thinking, I'm going to spend a lot less running this in the cloud. But over time, things happen, and you realize, I was wrong about that. I'm spending more in the cloud. Nothing stops you from moving it back to on-prem where obviously you were spending less. Just that simple. Another reason people move is governance. They're accustomed to the way they used to manage everything, the way they used to govern the use of the data, the use of the resources and whatnot. It changes quite a bit when you move into cloud. For some people, it's uncomfortable. They feel a loss of control. And so governance being better in an on-premises situation, they're going to move some of their workloads back to on-premises where it makes sense. Another one is latency. Okay, so on a local area network, latency is almost never an issue. Everything is there, all along one piece of cable. When you move outside, and suddenly you've got things moving through the cloud is an enormous network. The internet is global. And so things are not going to move as fast in the cloud as they do on your local network. In some cases, that latency makes a difference. People want to have the workload as close to home as possible so they can process it as quickly as possible. It makes a lot of sense. So latency is a reason that some people bring certain workloads back on premises. Here's a problem we've been worrying about since as far back as I can remember, and that's pretty far back. Vendor lock-in. Vendors cleverly do things that force you to use their other products or their services or their support or what have you, and you really can't go elsewhere. Now, multi-cloud has made this less prevalent in the cloud environment, but still, once you're using a number of services in one environment, you may find that you don't want to wander and you feel stuck. Now, the easy way to get unstuck is take the cloud out of it, move the workloads back to your own facility, and, well, risk getting locked into a software vendor's intelligent moves. Some of the reasons you repatriate don't have anything to do with technology. They could be just things that have happened in the business. The way you used to do things is no longer the way you want to do things. And the fact is, you're much bigger than you used to be, and some things you just can't do the same old way. That's fine. That's fine, but in many cases, you'll be using new cloud capabilities, expanding. In many cases, you may find yourself having to go back to on-premises and do some things the old way. Management. I love this. Think about this. In an on-premises environment, 9% of your spend, on average, is for software licenses. When in the cloud, 68% of your spend is on subscription fees. Now, the counterbalance is that in the cloud, as you can see, all you're taking care of is the initial implementation and then any kind of tuning or customization, training, and so forth. That's everything you take care of. On premises, you take care of everything. The hardware, the software, the people, maintenance, everything. It's all on you. And so that imbalance in spend gets rebalanced. Of course, you may be one of those people who prefers to have more control. It makes a lot of sense. More control, when you're managing everything like that, you have control over it. And so that may be your reason for bringing some things back into your own house under your own control. When it comes to data and network security, same exact argument. The more you have under your control, the easier it is for you to secure it. Some of your legacy systems, when you moved them to cloud, you thought this is going to work perfectly. You did all the necessary testing, but you missed some things. And you find out, nope, we were wrong. This workload will not be served well by the cloud. Can't do it. And so you move it back on premises. Not a bad thing. So you do. Some people just like to have a hybrid strategy as a hedge against utter catastrophe. If you have much of your infrastructure and many of your workloads in-house, and somehow you lose access to the cloud, or major sections of the cloud or the internet itself go down, you can still operate. If you're backing up your workloads from the cloud, you can still possibly operate. And for some people, that is the strategy. So that's a possibility. Some people are very, very concerned when they have storage out in the cloud. They think it's less secure. That's an old-fashioned thought. We proved a decade ago that the cloud providers are spending much more than we can, and therefore our data is much better protected in the cloud. But that's my perspective. Yours may differ, and you may make the decision, nope, I want to have this workload where I can physically see it. I want to be able to hug my server. Okay, and you have the right to make that decision. Some people want to reduce dependency on any external resources. They want to stay behind their firewall as much as they can. That's one way of reducing dependencies, by eliminating them. What are your challenges when trying to bring workloads back? The cost. There's going to be cost involved in moving workloads back from the cloud to your own data center. You may have to repurchase infrastructure that you got rid of. You may have to hire people to recapture expertise that you lost during the transition. You may have to reestablish certain security measures that you felt you didn't need anymore because nothing was in-house. You may incur egress fees from the cloud providers to get your data back. And you may find that moving the data back is even more complex than it was moving it there in the first place. Those are all very good possibilities. So, wrapping up, here are a couple of takeaways to keep in mind as you listen to the debate today. Repatriation doesn't have to be all or nothing at all. This is not a polar decision. This is not yes or no, on or off, black or white. You can have shades of gray. You can move some workloads back and keep some workloads in the cloud. But you should actively decide what goes where and make sure you understand why you're doing it. Wherever a workload goes, you should have good reasoning, strong reasoning backed up by logic that it should be where I just put it. Build your case for each workload you want to repatriate so you can demonstrate to anybody it was a good decision. And remember, nothing is irreversible. Thanks for your attention. Enjoy the debate.
Okay. Thank you, Howard, for that excellent overview of repatriation and what it all means. Now we've got a quick poll question for you. Tell us, what is your time frame for adding new or updating existing IT solutions at your company? Are you in the middle of it? Is it on the horizon a little way out, or are you still planning? Let us know here in the poll and keep responding there for another minute. I also want to ask you today, this is not a poll question, but I just thought of this now. It'd be kind of fun to know, just let us know in the questions tab. Have you repatriated workloads back on premises? If you have or have not, let us know. And if you have, tell us why. Be kind of interesting just to have that information so we kind of know where you stand. So fill out this poll and let us know if you have repatriated workloads and why or why not if you haven't. So some opportunities for feedback here today from everyone. And we really appreciate you taking the time to let us know. I'd like to know, where you are. This is really good information to have. And with that, everyone, we are going to move on to the main event. Our first presentation of the EcoCast comes from Quantum. Well, I guess our second presentation, our first one was the keynote, but our first vendor presentation is from Quantum, and presenting for Quantum today is Timothy Sherback. He is part of the Enterprise Products and Solutions team with Quantum. Timothy, welcome, and thank you for being here today. I am going to turn things over to you. And don't forget to let us know if you've repatriated workloads or not while Timothy is doing the presentation.
Thanks very much. Great to be here. Let's get into it. So my name is Tim Sherback. As suggested, I work with Enterprise Products and Solutions here at Quantum. And today we're going to talk a little bit about building your own private storage cloud. In a lot of ways, this is an outgrowth or a consequence of significant investments in cloud, and ultimately, as per our subject today, repatriation of workloads and data from the cloud into your own in-house environment. In today's time frame, given now that we're well over a decade into cloud agendas and cloud computing, a lot of organizations are reevaluating what classically had evolved into kind of a cloud-first strategy as a vehicle to increase agility and simplicity in their IT infrastructure, such that they could very quickly get new applications running and really kind of simplify their operations in many ways without having to impact their own in-house data centers. But as we move forward in time, and definitely in kind of the economic climate that we're in today, a lot of organizations are looking and reevaluating that cloud-first strategy in turning it into more of a cloud also strategy, where they're really reflecting upon both in-house data centers and cloud data centers as the vehicle by which they do their operations. And a lot of this is about the focus on lowering costs, improving cost predictability, data accessibility, and ultimately data control, security, and sovereignty. And whereas with cloud, we got a lot of benefits, there are also kind of this lingering challenge in terms of these costs and the predictability of costs that are tripping IT organizations up, that they're effectively having to look at. So one of the first things you want to think about is what and how you might repatriate. And that can be a focus on workloads, data, workloads and hot data, and or active and cold archives. And so it's really, the first thing to do is to think about and reflect upon what you would repatriate and where you're spending the money and the investment that you're making in cloud to consider what to repatriate. What I wanted to talk about today was a little bit about cloud active and cold archiving, because this is an area that is very fertile for cloud repatriation and reconsideration of doing archiving on a local level rather than in the cloud level. There's many trends that are driving the development of these massive data stores within your environments. We could spend a lot of time on this slide, but really it's a reflection. If you think about it, it's really a reflection of this unbounded data growth that we're having, and how that's impacting scalability and performance as cost as key considerations. It's the idea that we're using data in a much more active way, and that there's an increasing long-term value of data and the metadata surrounding the data that are stressing the storage economics, and we need more affordable solutions that are going to manage our data for years to decades. There's forever ending data security and protection concerns, and so when you're considering your requirements, you need to think about security and protection and durability as primary requirements for your investments. And then really what I wanted to focus on today a little bit is this idea that we're continuing our drive toward flexibility and agility. That's something that organizations were rewarded with in this as a service solution that the cloud is. And one of the most important things to think about in terms of repatriation is, how do I make my IT environment feel more like a cloud-like experience, right? And so consider all of those valuable things that the cloud rewards your organization with, and think about, how do I emulate those best practices and those feature sets in your own IT environment. And so, and then lastly is this concept that we were talking about, just that whereas there was a real reward for getting invested in cloud in terms of agility and flexibility, what we recognize is that the economics of outsourcing all of your facilities to a third party can be untenable at scale, and especially with respect to data usage and egress, where there are additional costs, not only for storing your data, but also for accessing your data and using your data. And so it almost can feel like that your data is, you're being held hostage by virtue of having to pay for access to your own data. And so in that context, then there's this push toward hybrid and private data clouds as a vehicle to overcome some of these challenges. So my message is really that data repatriation doesn't mean turning back the clock. It means building your own private cloud. And so when you're thinking about that, one of the benefits that you get, of course, is no transaction fees or storage fees or egress fees. Once you have your own private cloud, you've got the ability to manage your hardware costs much more effectively, and as your environment evolves, that you can absorb newer generations of technology quicker and get those cost benefits in your own environment. And the clear fact that you can own your own cloud, and that this can be ultimately cheaper than using the public cloud, because you're able to optimize the environment to your needs, reduce the myriad fees that are being applied to your storage, and really take advantage of the lowest cost technologies without penalty. Whereas in the cloud, there's classically this trade-off between high performance and the cost of access, but that is also a trade-off with lower performance solutions where access costs also are very significant. And so with your own private cloud, you have the opportunity to build a better cloud for yourself. So the first message is think like a hyperscaler, right? Think about those attributes of cloud storage that are very valuable. Of course, one is a REST interface, and this provides for simple access over distance, and provides for this as a service kind of solution where you can request data and get data into your production environment very quickly and easily, and is a well-defined standard for accessing your cloud storage. You want to think in terms of multi-tiered storage that allows you for much greater storage efficiency in terms of using multiple medias, just like the cloud storage providers do, in order to get very low cost and very high efficiency across the board by having these multiple tiers of storage. You need to think about durability and availability in terms of protecting your environment, and think about the infrastructure that you're building out to make sure that it has the durability and high availability characteristics that are guaranteeing your access to your data and the long-term availability of that data, and that it's secure. And this needs to be reflective of site disasters as well. And so you may want to consider multiple multi-geo solutions that will help you in terms of limiting your risk in terms of a single site disaster. One of the key aspects of cloud storage is the scale out capability, where you have performance and simplicity at scale, where as you can remember, when you're using cloud storage, that you just kind of make a request for additional provisioning, and you don't have great concerns over performance and scalability. And that is available because of the intrinsic scale-out architecture of these solutions, which you can emulate in your own environment with a scale-out architecture for your storage layer. You'll want to think in terms of as a service, right? In that you're providing this as a service to your constituencies and stakeholders. And there's a lot of options here in that you can do that exclusively in-house, or you can partner with your local reseller, your local managed service providers, that between standardized IT infrastructure as well as some managed services capability, perhaps from a partner, along with resources that you have in-house, that you can build this as a service solution in a very interesting way, in a local way, that provides you a lot more adaptability and flexibility in building out this architecture. And then the last thing that you want to think about in terms of kind of these best practice and best practice features is the adaptability. One of the great capabilities with scale out architectures is in many cases they are very amenable to the next generation of storage and scaling and staying on a technology curve as new generations of servers, new generations of storage come out. And so you're going to want to measure your solution with respect to that adaptability to new generations of technology. And then lastly, what I would say is think about both active and cold data. And this is back to this multi-tiered type scenario, because it's really in some ways by virtue of being able to understand your data and having the flexibility within your own environment without any transactional costs or fees or egress fees or et cetera, that you can evolve your infrastructure and move your data as appropriate in order to get the best cost efficiency in the environment. And so it's very valuable, and we'll talk about this in more detail, to think in terms of both active and cold data storage as an element of the solution that you're producing. So this is a little bit of a cheeky slide in just reflecting on our solution, which is referred to as quantum active scale, and the quantum active scale cold storage solution, which is a significant feature of the quantum active scale environment, which allows you to really dramatically reduce the cost of your cloud storage by building your own storage cloud and really reducing the overall storage cost, and also reducing the access and egress fees that cause this classic unpredictability in terms of managing your cloud storage bill every month by virtue of just removing all of those fees as an element of the solution. So when I talk about building your own cloud, what we talk about with our customers is bringing a hyperscale cloud storage architecture to your enterprise. Quantum has a long history of actually working and is a key technology supplier to many hyperscale cloud environments in building out these very large cloud infrastructures. And so our strategy has been, in addition to servicing that market need, to build out an infrastructure in the quantum active scale solution that allows you to build your own private storage cloud. And so in this case, it's a scale out architecture that you can store and protect billions of files and objects. It uses both S3 and S3 Glacier in one system with multi-tiers of storage that allow you to really economize on the total solution. And it's available either as a capital purchase where you own and operate the equipment, or we can also install it in your environment as a service where we would own the equipment and we would manage it for you, and you would adopt it as a resource, kind of as a user base, and which can also significantly reduce the overhead in terms of building and managing a storage cloud like this. The real key about quantum active scale is it provides for the lowest dollar per terabyte, and that's by virtue of the multi-tiered storage infrastructure that is built in the system. It provides best-in-class performance and price performance by virtue of both this scale-out architecture that is very highly optimized to perform not only in the initial installation, but has an architecture that is very flexible in terms of its growth and evolution in order to guarantee performance over time and guarantee best price performance as well. It is ultra secure, and it's green data storage. We can talk about that in detail as we go into it with respect to the storage tiers that it supports. And the real beauty is that it is built for this massive scale. And when I say massive scale, that's from hundreds of terabytes to petabytes to even exabyte scale, that provides for very simple management of the environment, even as it grows. It's a seamless environment, and it's really architected to be auto configuring, auto managing over time. And that really provides for simplicity when you're implementing this within your own IT environment. And then the last great value of the quantum active scale system is in terms of the cost predictability, in that we, of course, have a very good appreciation and understanding of the architecture and the configuration, such that we can right size the configuration in order to meet your needs, and without any of these egress fees and monthly kind of fees that are impacting your predictability. It's a very kind of straight line of cost structure, such that between you and your finance people, et cetera, that you're very well founded and understood in terms of what the costs are going to be. And the other great thing is that it provides for, it's very configurable with these multiple tiers of storage, such that you can grow each of these tiers independently according to requirements both for performance and requirements for cost efficiency. And so as the system grows over time, it's really adaptable to continually right size to what your exact requirements are. So in building a private cloud, the key capability is really to employ multiple storage media types in order to achieve great savings. Generally, if you evaluate your data sets, and according to industry experts and analysts, what they recognize is that generally 90% of your data is cold, or warm or cold. And so there's a real value in being able to use these multiple tiers of storage to get real benefit in terms of cost efficiency and capability. And in this context, if you look at in the context of these tiers, there's the opportunity to use tape resources for your cold tier, disk resources for your warm tier, and then of course flash or NVMe for your high performance tier. And by doing this, what you're seeing is that you can get really interesting cost dynamics happening when you build out a system in this way. The tape resources are generally less than $2 per terabyte per month when you think of it in an amortized way over time. And as you go up this pyramid, you can see that disk is going to be 4 to 5 times the cost of tape, and then flash is going to be 5 to 6 times the cost of hard disk drives. And so there's really a very strong opportunity to optimize your infrastructure to take advantage of these cost differentials. So ActiveScale is the industry's first and only object store architected for both active and cold data. It's a fully architected single system image that includes these multiple tiers, and allows you to have an active tier that you're accessing, and it has a cold tier that you can access as well. And then there are also life cycle policies, so that as you write data to your active tier, you can that can naturally migrate to the cold storage tier as well. And so it's one of the key elements of this architecture is that it's a single system image and provides for this seamless environment across these multiple tiers of storage. And so makes for a very effective solution in that way. There are some key technologies that are built into the system that we'll talk about that really makes it meaningful in being able to very simply produce this environment. So toward that goal, with the ActiveScale cold storage features, the key is, number one, this concept of quantum rail, which is a redundant array of independent libraries. This concept has been around for a very long time, but it's been hard for organizations to really adopt this. And it's only with this latest generation of software innovation that we've been doing that allows this rail architecture to really come alive. The idea effectively is that with tape solutions, we want to be able to build a highly parallel, redundant environment that allows you to take the advantage of the low cost of the infrastructure, but also service both the performance and the availability needs such that you always have access to your data. And so by going and using smaller libraries and multiple smallish libraries, we can build more parallelism and more performance into the environment. And we can also make it for it to be a very reliable, available, and serviceable environment using this more modular approach. In addition, there is the requirement to be able to write data across this infrastructure in a meaningful way such that we are able to get performance, durability, and efficiency all at the same time. And that's really kind of the crown jewel in building an environment like this, is this two-dimensional erasure coding feature that we've architected and innovative that provides for, number one, a single tape read to access your data, as well as the ability to fully protect against tape and library failures. So even in the case of a fault within this environment, we always have access to our data. We can always rebuild the data because we've redundantly written the data across the infrastructure. And so that makes for a very, very efficient solution in, like I say, it provides for parallel performance across multiple arrays. It provides for durability in being able to recover. And it provides for very high efficiency by avoiding a scenario where we have to make multiple copies of data in order to get the durability that we need in order to protect the data. And so we can provide a very storage efficient scenario as well. And then the last key innovation is this kind of software-defined object on tape management that we built into the whole architecture, where we're managing objects on tape, but it's an extension and a fully integrated feature of the object storage system overall. And that provides, and we provide integrated staging to disk, so we get very high performance on ingest and access. And we remove the requirements for handling of tape media, and so it makes for a very efficient solution. Where often people are like, oh, tape, I remember tape, and I had to handle and manage tapes, etc. This is a totally different experience, much like the cloud, where effectively you don't even know that you're interacting with tape because you're using this intelligent, programmatic, abstract software layer that provides you for very simple access to these resources. So with ActiveScale, we get very, very high TCO savings, both in terms of the cloud and with compared to other disk-based object stores that you might consider when you're building a private cloud. This, for example, is an analysis we did for a major bank in which they are looking at deploying a private cloud for across their whole infrastructure such that they can achieve significant savings. And here you can see by using a combination of disk and tape media that the ActiveScale can save them $11 million over a 10-year period for their sizable private cloud needs. And so it's a good good estimate and an evaluation. This is kind of part of our sales process, that we can help you right size the configuration and get to a very clear understanding of how much you can save by leveraging the ActiveScale system compared to alternative systems. One thing to be conscious of is not all object on tape solutions are the same. A couple of things to watch out for is that there's a lot of unoptimized solutions that really are just trying to use an object storage protocol to write to tape, but without consideration of building a large-scale archive that is going to simultaneously optimize performance, efficiency, and durability. And so you'll see different primitive solutions that are not necessarily optimized around the total solution here, and that you'll see that expressed in that objects are stored individually or wholly on tape, and then objects where objects are erasure coded across multiple tapes, which would then require that you're reading multiple tape drives to get back any one object. Many of the solutions in the marketplace today don't fully support the standard Glacier API and the standard S3 API, such that applications don't know that they're actually talking to tape or to a lower performing storage class, and so applications may not behave properly when you're in that scenario. There's also the scenario where it's not a single system. It's either multiple namespaces or it's a multi-vendor solution. And so that can cause a lot of challenges in terms of integration and simplicity. And then many are really not available as a service or as a turnkey solution. And so it ends up being an integration exercise for the IT department to get this all working. And in contrast, for example, ActiveScale from Quantum is a fully turnkey solution that provides you for a very simple answer to what would otherwise be a complex problem, and is also available as a service, as an option. So just to close, number one, repatriation is real. You'll definitely see scenarios where it makes sense for your organization. It doesn't mean going back to what we did before. It means really building a private cloud. And so you want to think about, as you build your private cloud, that you are achieving all of the best aspects of cloud storage, and evaluating yourself in those terms. And so that also means that you need to think a little bit more like a hyperscaler in terms of the scale out architecture, in terms of multiple tiers of storage in support of your environment. And lastly, if you want to talk more about the ActiveScale system, we'd be happy to talk to you about some of your long-term archiving and active archiving needs and how we might be able to help you. Okay, well, thank you very much for your participation today. Really appreciate this opportunity. Thanks, and have a great day.
All right. Thanks for that fantastic presentation, Tim. Such timely information on our repatriating workloads. And so we've got our next poll question ready here for you. We appreciate your feedback on any additional resources you'd like to see from Quantum. Along those lines, there were a lot of questions that we are not able to get to because of time today. But Tim and the Quantum team will do their best to respond to all the questions that come in for them. So you can go ahead and keep asking, and they will reach out to you. I'd also like to remind everyone about the handouts. We've got a tech brief from Quantum on ActiveScale cold storage. So that's another thing to check out and download if you'd like more detail on that solution. All right, and I want to thank everybody who's responding to the poll for that feedback. I'll leave it up here for another moment, and we will then move on to our next presentation. All right. But first, it is time for our first prize drawing of the event. And the winner of the $300 Amazon gift card is Ben Freck from Texas. Congratulations to you, Ben. We will be in touch about claiming your prizes. All right. So with that out of the way, let's move on to our next presentation. Up now is Rubric. Presenting next in the EcoCast, and presenting for Rubric this time is Mike Preston, a technical marketing architect. And we will be doing some Q&A after this presentation, so get your questions in. Mike, welcome. Thanks for being here today, and I will turn it over to you.
Well, welcome everybody. My name is Mike Preston. I'm a technical marketing architect here at Rubric, and I'm super excited to take the next 20 minutes or so and introduce you to some of the unique data security problems that Rubric has been solving over the last few years, particularly as it pertains to cloud and cloud data. Now, I have just a few slides to run through to kind of level set on the Rubric platform, and after that, we'll jump in and see a demo of the product itself and show you how Rubric Security Cloud can help you protect your cloud data. So first off, we've all experienced this explosion of data over the past few years. Most of our customers now have data spread out across multiple locations and multiple platforms, whether that be structured data such as databases or unstructured such as object storage or NAS. Our customers are now having to manage their data across on-premises, cloud, and SaaS-based delivery methods. And with this, we end up seeing multiple hands in the pot, or multiple teams across enterprises being responsible for this data. And with that comes this very fragmented approach to data protection. We see multiple point solutions being deployed to manage cloud data, and then other solutions for SaaS data, and yet more to cover off all of our on-prem data. Now, the problem with this approach is the recovery processes end up being very fragmented and completely different across all of the point solutions. For instance, restoring an EC2 instance with native backup tools in the cloud is much different than restoring a database on-prem or restoring mailboxes in M365. And this presents significant challenges to backup and IT teams. Meanwhile, all of our data is constantly under attack. We have internal threats to deal with, along with the constantly evolving world of malware and ransomware, which is nonstop trying to exfiltrate and encrypt our data. This has led to a change in tone from multiple stakeholders within the business. Instead of asking about backup, they're now very concerned about recovering, wondering, can we recover if we were attacked? Are we monitoring our data and looking for anomalies? Basically, the days of just using backup for compliance purposes are gone. We need to ensure that our data is not only backed up, but it needs to be secured, air-gapped, and immutable to ransomware. And of course, it needs to be able to be efficiently restored when the time comes to do so. And doing all of this in the cloud using native backup tools presents a lot of challenges. The first being, most cloud data protection solutions look a lot like a legacy backup system, requiring administrators to manually set up and configure different aspects of the solutions, manually configuring backup jobs, manually enabling things like immutability and visibility. And all of this normally just applies to the subscription that you're in. And while this may be okay for a customer who only has one cloud account, most of our customers today leverage multiple accounts to provide segregation or departmental isolation, which means this work needs to be duplicated to support all of their cloud accounts across all of their subscriptions and needs to be individually managed on each individual subscription. On top of this, it duplicates further to support each region within the account that's utilized. So we aren't talking about a few management points here. We're looking at possibly hundreds or even thousands of instances that we need to configure, manage, and monitor. And to further this confusion, once we begin to leverage multi-cloud, we now have to yet again duplicate these management points and add in new and additional interfaces that our backup teams need to learn and invest resources in. And let's not forget that significant on-prem footprint that we also need to protect. This is where Rubric Security Cloud comes into play. Rubrik Security Cloud is able to protect all of your data, be it in the cloud, delivered through SaaS, or on-premises, all with a single SaaS-based control plane. Our core value prop when it comes to cloud data protection is definitely unification. RSC provides one unified interface that allows you to manage the data protection and security aspects of all your cloud accounts across all of your clouds with a single control plane. One SLA domain, which contains data protection constructs such as the RPO and retention, can be applied across all of your cloud accounts, making it very easy to achieve a baseline backup. Furthermore, when data is protected by Rubrik, it's immutable, meaning it's protected from encryption and ransomware, and being logically air-gapped from your production environment means it can always be used as your last line of defense. Data can be replicated across cloud regions or even across cloud accounts to provide even further segregation from your production networks. Thirdly, RSC's Cloud Native Backup provides the ability to recover entire cloud instances or the ability to simply surgically recover exactly what you need by selecting only the files and folders desired. And of course, we can also lower your entire total cost of ownership by removing the need to train and learn multiple interfaces, removing the need to babysit homegrown data protection scripts, and by taking advantage of storage tiering within the cloud to place data on lower cost storage tiers if that is desired. So I know we've talked about a lot here, but let's jump into a demo and see exactly how easy it is to protect your cloud data with Rubrik. We'll start here on the main inventory page. As you can see, Rubrik Security Cloud provides a unified interface for all of your data protection needs, whether they reside on-prem, in the cloud, or delivered through SaaS-based models such as M365. EC2 protection with RSC is delivered in a true cloud-native fashion, with RSC acting only as the control plane, making the proper API calls into your AWS account to create EBS snapshots, and managing those snapshots throughout their entire data lifecycle. The backup data is stored within your account, abiding by any data sovereignty regulations you may have, with the option to replicate data across AWS regions or even between AWS accounts to provide logical separation between backup and production. Now, we've already added an AWS account in this instance, and Rubrik has automatically discovered and inventoried all of the EC2 instances and EBS volumes. You can see we can easily sort and filter this inventory to our needs by things like region or AWS tags, AWS accounts, instance types. And you can also select individual instances to perform data protection processes against them. The first step in providing protection for our EC2 instances is through the creation of an SLA domain. Rubrik utilizes a policy-based approach as it pertains to data protection for all of our supported workloads. If you're familiar with legacy data protection solutions, you probably know the concept of jobs. You have a job to back up, a job to index, a job to archive, a job to replicate, and so on and so forth. And all of these jobs hinge on one another. If one fails, the entire chain fails. And worse yet, you have to duplicate these jobs for each and every workload type you want to protect. Rubrik eliminates this nightmare of jobs by wrapping up data protection constructs into an SLA domain. So let's take a look. First, we're going to select what we want to protect. Now, we can create an SLA instance just for EC2 if we wanted, or we could create one SLA to protect all of our workload types. Now, next, we need to define our RPO and our retention. So how often we want to take backups, along with how long each backup should be retained. Now, let's say we want to take a backup every 4 hours, and we'll keep that for a day, and then we'll take a daily and we'll keep it for 60 days, and a monthly, and we'll keep this for a year. So now that we've defined our RPO and retention, next we have something called archival. Archival allows us to take our older backups, or those backups at the end of a backup chain, and migrate them to less expensive storage tier. This both saves the organization money in terms of their AWS bill and provides a means to maintain compliance regulations that the organization has. In this case, let's say we want to archive anything older than 30 days, and we'll move this to our archival location, which in this case is running on S3. Now this moves us into replication. Replication works much in the same way as archival. However, instead of processing older backups at the end of the chain, replication processes the most recent backups at the beginning of the chain. Replication allows us to replicate a specified number of the most recent backups to another AWS region, either in the same or in an entirely different AWS account. This ensures that your most recent data is available for restoration in the event of a regional or even an account-wide outage. Native tools require accounts to all fall under the same AWS organization to perform this. However, with Rubrik, it doesn't matter. Simply add any account to RSC and utilize the storage within that account as a replication target. So let's say we'll replicate our most 5 recent backups. In this case, let's go to a different region here. So with our SLA domain policy now created, all we need to do is simply assign it to our workloads and Rubrik will begin protection, adhering to those constructs that we just configured. SLA assignments can occur on a number of different hierarchies. First, we could assign an SLA to the AWS account itself. When we do this, all of the existing EC2 instances, as well as any newly created instances within the account, will automatically inherit the SLA domain assigned to the top level account. This ensures that data protection is never an afterthought, which is often the case in the fluid world of cloud. We can also assign SLAs directly on the EC2 instances or EBS volumes themselves. If an instance was currently inheriting an SLA domain, this assignment would override that inheritance. We often see our customers assign a broad SLA, say one that takes a nightly backup, to their entire account to ensure that at least every workload is protected, and then they create more aggressive SLAs and assign them directly to their mission-critical workloads that may require a smaller RPO. For those customers that have multiple accounts, we can also assign SLAs based on AWS tag key value pairs. Often we see customers leveraging many AWS accounts to provide segregation and a clear perimeter for their applications. Each of these accounts ends up being managed and configured differently, as they are normally owned by different employees in various departments. Before Rubrik, they had multiple deployments of various data protection stacks looking after these accounts, a management nightmare. With Rubrik, they simply define a common tagging strategy across these accounts, set up a tag rule for SLA assignments, say any instance that has the environment tag set to prod, and then have them automatically assign SLAs based off of that tag value. This allows cloud architects to simply tag their EC2 instances and data protection is applied automatically. No interfacing with the backup teams, no need to leave the AWS console, and a process that can easily be integrated into their infrastructure as code toolsets. Now, once we have an assigned SLA policy to a workload, Rubrik will automatically begin making the respective API calls into the AWS account to create snapshots, expire snapshots, and archive and replicate those snapshots if need be. There's no concept of having to babysit jobs, no need for any manual intervention, no scripting, no jumping around from account to account or console to console, one unified interface handling all of your data protection needs. And of course, backup is great, but useless without the ability to restore. So Rubrik really shines when it comes to restoring data. First, let's talk about file level restore. File level restore can be configured on a per EC2 instance level, and if enabled, Rubrik will index each snapshot it takes, sending that metadata back to RSC. This allows us to provide lightning fast search capabilities across not just one, but all of our restore points. Let's search for hosts, for example. Here we can see the results of our search, and we can easily select which file we'd like to recover, select where we'd like to recover from, and of course provide where we would like to recover to. Using native tools, this exact same process could have taken hours or even days, as cloud administrators need to find the EBS snapshot, mount it to a different workload, and search through the file system for the file they're looking for, only to realize that they have the wrong restore point and need to perform the entire process all over again. Rubrik boils this process down to literally minutes. Now, Rubrik also provides the ability to recover the entire EC2 instance as well, with a couple of different options. First, if you're looking to restore directly back to your production EC2 instance, you can use our restore option. This will essentially rewind the production EC2 instance to the specified point in time, leaving everything about that instance untouched, such as its location and size. Also, any tags that were applied to the instance at the given restore point are also reattached to that instance, ensuring any tag-based reporting or tag-based scripting processes continue to run against the workload. We also provide the ability to perform what's called an export. Export will create an entirely new EC2 instance from the backups, leaving your production instance untouched. As you can see, when we perform an export, we get a few more options around the newly created EC2 instance. We can change its name, the region or account we would like to export to, along with things like its network information and machine size as well. Export is really a great option for those looking to perform dev and test processes on a workload without having to actually touch their production environment. So that's Rubrik's EC2 protection in a nutshell. An easy-to-use unified interface to protect all of your data, whether it lives in the cloud, on-prem, or through SaaS-based applications like M365. No more need for point solutions, no need to learn different applications and interfaces, and better yet, Rubrik can protect your AWS data across all of your accounts and integrate into the tools your cloud architects use daily, such as Terraform, allowing those people who are responsible for the infrastructure and data to also ensure that it's safe and protected. So with that, I'm going to end here and we'll take a few questions. Let's get to it.
Okay. Great presentation, Mike. I love the demo, love in-depth demos that show us how this stuff really works. So we're going to take some questions, as you mentioned here, but first I wanted to throw up the next poll question. We would really like to know what additional information you would like from Rubrik. As they say on the infomercials, operators are standing by and ready to hear from you. So, Mike, are you ready to dive into some of the questions that the attendees have for you? Oh, let's try that again. Mike, are you there? I'm ready to answer some questions.
I am. Are you not unable to hear me? Oh, okay.
Sorry, we had a little bit of a glitch there, but everything is great now. So let's get going. First of all, for you today, Mike, here's a question from one of the attendees who asks, we have regulations that state all of our data needs to be stored within our account. What data is actually sent to Rubrik's security cloud from our environment? A really important question there.
Yeah, that's a great question. We run into this all the time with our customers. So the way the solution actually works is Rubrik Security Cloud, which is basically the control plane or the SaaS interface that we provide you. It essentially just makes the API calls into AWS to create the EBS snapshots on your behalf. So those EBS snapshots live within your account. They're not transferred at all to Rubrik Security Cloud. There's the possibility to replicate them to another AWS account if you want, or another region as well. But ideally, we don't copy anything from your account into Rubrik Security Cloud. The only thing that gets sent through is metadata. So when we do take a snapshot, if you enable like file level recovery or something like that on it, we will index that and send that metadata back to Rubrik Security Cloud. And that's just to, provide sort of that super fast search functionality that we have within the product. So basically your data stays in your account.
That's going to be comforting to, I think, everyone attending today. Another question. Now, your demo was showing Rubrik working on AWS, on the Amazon cloud. Does Rubrik support any other clouds?
Yep. Yeah. So we support, the big three, AWS, Azure, and Google Cloud. various different workloads within the big three. So, within AWS, we support EC2 and RDS, and we have some other services that we're releasing in the near future as well. Within Azure, it's Azure VM as well as Azure SQL. And then Google Cloud, we support the computing service within Google Cloud as well.
Gotcha. Nice to know that you're cloud agnostic here. That is certainly a big factor. Okay, up next, Mike. Does Rubrik have any other features that can help me when it pertains to moving my data to the cloud?
Yeah, so I always like to tell this story. When we first sort of came to market with Rubrik, we basically did two things. We took backups of a VMware environment, and then we archived that backup to the cloud. So we went through archival in the demo in terms of archiving cloud-based workloads, but we do have something that's called Cloud Out, been in the product since our very first version. And that's the ability to take those on-premises backups and sort of archive off those older base backups, or you can enable something called Instant Archive, which will immediately archive it up to the cloud. So that's to basically free up Rubrik storage on-prem, obviously, and take advantage of some of the lower cost storage within the cloud. So you can archive up to S3 or S3 Glacier or Azure or Google Cloud. And again, depending on the workload, we also have something called NAS Cloud Direct. And this is really for those organizations that are dealing with sort of unstructured NAS data, sort of at a petabyte type of scale. So this allows us to essentially back, on-premises NAS boxes up directly to the cloud. So directly up to S3 or S3 Glacier to sort of provide the storage for that. So there's all sorts of tools to move data, both, to the cloud and back to on-prem as well.
Great. Now we got a question from Chandra that's kind of related to that, but takes a little bit different angle. Chandra wants to know what Rubrik offers that is different from the built-in free AWS tools that are already provided with a cloud account. Can you kind of tease out some of those differences between Rubrik and AWS?
Yeah, for sure. So we do get this question all the time as well. And, the built-in tools are great. The AWS backup is a great service. But we do offer a lot sort of on top of that. Now, to be honest, we're both calling the same APIs. We're both taking, snapshots of EC2 instances, creating EBS snapshots, moving it around, things like that. The big difference is, everything's orchestrated within Rubrik for you. So that entire sort of data lifecycle, we'll be able to, create those snapshots, expire those snapshots, keep track of where everything is. Another big piece is the file level functionality. So we're able to crack open those snapshots and actually index that data, send that back to Rubrik Security Cloud. So you do have sort of the file level recovery functionality at your fingertips. And to be honest, we've had a lot of customers that have in the past used SDKs and APIs, and that's great. I mean, we're an API first company, right? Everything we do within the UIs absolutely can be automated. But we've had a lot of customers use the APIs and SDKs to sort of build their own data protection type solution for AWS. And that works great when, maybe you're managing a handful of EC2 instances. But when you start to scale and you start to get bigger and you start to have to protect more and more, it's certainly a lot easier to have, a full-blown data protection solution do that for you. And sort of one more, we've been really specific on AWS here, but, we don't just support AWS, right? We're, like you said, cloud agnostic. So you don't have to go and learn a whole bunch of new API calls, a whole bunch of new endpoints, a whole bunch of new SDKs. If, say, you all of a sudden have an Azure environment, right? The consistency of that Rubrik providing data protection with that SLA domain, that flows across all of your workloads, no matter what cloud they're in, no matter if it's like Microsoft 365 or, any on-premises workloads like VMware or Hyper-V or Nutanix or physical servers, all of that. The SLA domain sort of stays consistent, and we provide that unified interface for you.
That is really important too, Mike, in terms of reducing that learning curve. And so many companies are multi-cloud these days. That kind of thing becomes even more important the more you use the features that are offered for each cloud. Because as a company, you want to use whatever cloud works best or offers the functionality that you specifically need. So that could be, 1, 2, or 3, or even more, multiple clouds. So that kind of stuff is really nice to have. So, all right, Mike, that's about all the questions we've got time for. I do have one more thing I want to ask you. We've seen a great demo. We've answered a lot of questions today. And if somebody wants to get started with Rubrik or find out more, what is the next step they should take right after this event ends?
I would definitely say, you can reach out to, your local sales team, head to Rubrik.com, take a look at what we have there. We also have something called Rubrik Explore, which you can sign up to take sort of hands-on labs and sort of get familiar with the product on your own terms. That would definitely be, my first sort of call to action for everybody. Secondly, watch for us at reInvent this year. I know we've talked a lot about AWS, so watch for us at reInvent. We have a lot of exciting announcements coming out around that time. So keep your eyes open.
Yeah, reInvent always a great show, maybe the best in the industry consistently. So, Mike Preston, wow, it was so great to have you on and to learn and to see what Rubrik is doing, to see the demo. Just a lot of knowledge I think we gained today, and it was just a delight to to have you here, and hope you have a great rest of your day, Mike.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Oh, 100%, 100%. I'm going to leave this poll question up for another minute or so, folks. So keep voting on what you'd like to see from Rubrik. After today's presentation, there's probably a lot of questions and a lot of interest in what they're doing. But now it is time for the final prize drawing of the day. And for this, we have got 2 $300 Amazon gift cards ready to go. As Jess mentioned at the beginning, you have to be present for the entire event to be eligible for our prizes. And we do have 2 winners for the last 2 $300 gift cards, and they are Paul Guregian from California, hope I said that right, and David Lohman from New Jersey. Congratulations to both of our prize winners. We will be in touch with you ASAP about claiming those prizes. Okay, so were you watching the event today, and were you thinking that this type of event could be the ideal thing for your company, for as a way to tell folks about your platform or solution? If so, we would love to hear from you. Help determine which of our hundreds of events each year would be the perfect fit for you, or perhaps a custom webinar for you is what you're looking for. Any of those things we can help you with. Contact us. The email you see right there, connect@actualtechmedia.com. And one of our very friendly folks, and I promise they actually are very friendly, will be back with you. And with that, I just want to talk for one more minute as the last order of business about a virtual summit. These are some of our biggest events each year that we have, and we've got one coming up tomorrow. It's all about supercharging IT, the tools, products, and services that will make your operations hum along. More important than ever with everything that we have out there, all the different places we've got data and operations, everything is scattered everywhere. So tying those together and making sure that they are operating the most efficiently that you can get is an important factor for companies in order to stay competitive, in the field. So this is Virtual Summit's going to be tomorrow, October 11th. It starts at 11 a.m. for those folks on the East Coast like me. For those on the West Coast, I'm sorry, you might have to get up a little early. It's going to be at 8 a.m. Pacific time. You can see some of the companies listed there. We've got a bunch of them. It's going to be a great presentation. You're going to learn a lot, I promise, and we're going to have more great prizes as well for that. So if it looks good to you, why don't you sign up now or right after this ends? And when that is going to be ending is at this moment. Folks, we have reached the end of our event today. On behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank our presenters today for putting together these awesome presentations, and I want to thank Quantum and Rubrik for making this EcoCast possible. Finally, last but not least, I want to thank all of you attendees for being on with us, for your great questions, for your interest in this topic. We do this for you, and it's always a pleasure for me to be here with you. And that concludes it. We're done. You can get back to whatever you're doing. Have a great rest of your day, everyone.